recording our meetings, so to save people driving meetings, so around the country to save meetings, people driving meetings, we've done around the country to save webinars, people driving meetings, so around the country to save where if people can make it, they can dial in live, and if they can't, we'll record it and put it through Stream and then SharePoint News page for people to then see the recording afterwards. So recording is as easy as click start recording. You can't do it in a one-to-one chat, but you can do it if you have your meeting in a team or if you've got a scheduled meeting with more than 2 people. It pops up saying you're recording, let everyone know that they're being recorded. If I was a participant, the band looks slightly different, saying you're being recorded. If you stay in this meeting, then you're giving permission to be recorded, and if you don't want to be recorded, then leave. But you still should say that you are being recorded if you're the person that started recording. You know it's recording because you've got a little recording icon here, and if you hover over it, it says who's started the recording. Anyone in the call, as long as they're all internal people at least and not guests, can start or stop recording. So just make sure no one's stopping it by accident. I don't think that's likely to happen, but it does pop up and say you've stopped recording. So we'll stop recording there, and then so we can see where that goes afterwards. And then if you've got a really bad connection and you're all on video, you can turn off incoming video. So everyone else is still showing their video. If no one else has got a bad connection, they'll still see everyone else's video. But your view of everyone else's video will be turned off by that. So sometimes helps if you've got low bandwidth and you still want to use video. So that's everything in the 3 dots. Chat, you can still chat along with the meeting, and then that'll be kept in thread. And anything you chatted about before the meeting started actually will also be there, available, ready for you in the meeting chat section. And then show participants is what we started with. If you want to bring people into a meeting that haven't joined yet, then you can click more options and ask to join, and it just calls them directly. So if you've got a scheduled meeting, you can click people and ask to join, and otherwise by default it's waiting for them to join. If we did a meeting from a chat or a direct call from a chat, it's going to call everybody straight away by default. So that's some of the differences between scheduling a meeting first and just doing a call in a chat, which we'll have a look at some of the options. So they're all the in-call options, which hopefully gives you a brief overview of what we're talking about to start with. I'm just going to end the call there. Have a look at some of the different ways you can start a meeting, and then some of the pros and cons of doing it each way, because there are a few nuances about where you set up a meeting and what you get out of it. What we just did then to start a call was we're in the testing team and we clicked Meet Now at the bottom. So you can either start a meeting straight away, as it says Meet Now, or click Schedule a Meeting. And whether you did Meet Now or Schedule a Meeting, it's going to meet in the channel that you've clicked that icon in. So the only other option that you get in Teams when you create a meeting invite versus Outlook is this section here where it says select a channel to meet in, and that's pre-populated because we're already clicked Meet Now from that channel. So you still put a title in, you can still pick a room list if you want, pick a room from a room list if you want to. Obviously you put start and end date. It's got a minute cut down version of the scheduling assistant, so you can't see what people are doing if they've shared your calendar, but you can see if they're busy or not in this view. You can still invite people via Teams, and you still put the details in. And if you do it through Teams, you still get an Outlook meeting invite. It still goes in your calendar. It looks exactly the same, apart from it'll say from Gavin Jones on behalf of the Recap project team, because it's coming from the project team's calendar. Also to note, while I think of it, is if you put a meeting in from the team, you don't get the responses back. The team gets the responses back. So you need to remember to come in and check out your meeting ahead of time in case anyone's declined. So let's just see what that looks like in Teams. So if we do schedule meeting, and we'll do one for 9:30 till 10, We'll do test meeting, and you have to invite people one by one. So if you want it to do a meeting for the entire team at the time of recording, there's no easy way to do that. You have to go through and add every single person one by one, which does limit its use. Unfortunately, I hope Microsoft do something to fix that, because meeting in a team is really, really useful, because it saves everything back into the team. So let's just click schedules just so you can see what that looks like in Teams. So if we do a meeting from the team, it's going to post the meeting into the team for us, and it's a big purple block of colour. We can then also go and chat with the participants, which is the same as replying to that thread if the meeting's in the team. So where we've got this meeting running, when we had when we just looked at the chat in the in-call section, all of this thread would be visible whilst we're in the meeting. So what's really useful is if you're meeting in the team, and then you've got a thread talking about stuff ahead of the meeting, which is great because you're keeping stuff in context of the meeting, which is the main point of Teams, to keep everything in context. Then when you're in the meeting, you can see everything in the chat. So what's really good is to put your meeting agenda as a reply, maybe even in a table, and then you can see that without leaving the call. It's just all there ready for you to go. It's all in everyone's sidebar. You can see the agenda whilst you're talking, and everything looks great and is seamless. The other benefit of meeting in a team is that everything's saved back into the team. So remember we had meeting notes, that would appear as a tab now, because we've had a meeting, and you can see every time we've clicked meeting notes whilst we've been in a call, creates a new page. Not that we've done much of these, especially in the testing team, but you would get a page for every single one. You'll notice that the heading isn't great for the page because it just says meeting in testing. It doesn't tell you what that meeting is, but that's probably because we met now rather than putting a subject line in and doing a scheduled call. That would be the name of the scheduled call if we'd done one. And then the sections would have been every time we had a section in that meeting. So meeting notes appears in the team, and the recording appears in the team as well. So that gets uploaded to Stream automatically for you, and then when you click, you can view that recording right back in Teams without leaving. So it gives you all the details about what happened, who organised it, and we'll play back. Again, you can expand it and do all stuff that you would usually expect to do with a video. So at the time of recording, the only downside with meeting from Teams in a team rather than scheduling in Outlook is that you can't add distribution lists, you can't even add the entire team, you can't add people from the channel. You've got to add everyone individually one by one. So all the benefits of being able to save everything back into the team are largely lost in our experience, because we've got about 140 people in the team. If we want to do a webinar for all those people, and then they come if they want and don't if they can't make it, and we record the session, none of the benefits of meeting in the team can be had with that, because we're not going to go and add 140 people one by one. Even the admin staff are not going to do that. So then we have to arrange the meeting via Outlook. So that's the same as you would do in Skype. You have a Teams meeting button once you install the Teams desktop app, and you can make that an online meeting, and everyone would join via the link to that meeting. So the benefits of that are that you can then send that to any distribution lists, internal, external people. Anyone you want can get that meeting. If you've already got distribution lists set up, that's really handy, because you can just invite the distribution list you've already got. The downside is that all those assets associated with the meeting that we've talked about, so the chat, the meeting notes, the recordings, don't go back into the team. So if there was a team that you were meeting for, then none of those things would be saved back into the team unless you move them over manually. So, for example, if we jump into chat, so I've just got the chat filtered on meetings, which you can do at the top with the 3 dots now. And everywhere you've got a purple icon is going to be a meeting. And then every meeting, it looks a bit like a chat. So you've got a conversation thread, you've got files, meeting notes, whiteboard. Like I said, if now everything's saved in your chat tab, you're more likely to miss stuff. So unless it's in the conversation, you can kind of see what's gone on. If you posted the agenda there ahead of time, you can still do that because you can chat with the participants ahead of time and it posts it into the chat for you. But chat isn't very persistent, so at some point it's going to drop off the bottom of everyone's recent list and they're not going to follow it. So if you've spent loads of time doing meeting notes, they're sort of going to get lost. No one's going to go into the meeting chat and then go into meeting notes unless everyone pins that meeting to the top of their list. That's not very likely, especially if you had a private chat ahead of time and you've not then met in that chat and clicked that call button and scheduled a call instead. It's going to be a separate chat, so you probably want to go back to your chat that you've already got, if that makes sense. So all of those good things and all the meeting recordings will get saved in the chat as well. Again, I'll upload to stream for you, so it's sort of saved. But the chance of someone going back into this meeting chat and then viewing the video, especially if you've got a really long chat or a recurring meeting where everything's saved in the same chat, is pretty slim. So that's the downsides of meeting not in the team, but practically that's where most of the meetings are going to be scheduled because of the fact that you can't add people in bulk to a meeting that you scheduled from the team. So whether you scheduled the call in Outlook or scheduled it from Teams, when you go into the meeting and click the participants, you can only ask them to join one by one, and that's going to call them. If you're in a normal chat or a normal group chat, then you've got the video calling and share screen buttons at the top. If you clicked video call from a existing chat or call, it's going to immediately call everybody in the chat. So similar to Skype, it's as if you want to meet right now. That's going to call everybody, but all the stuff will still go back into that chat. But you can't schedule a call from a group chat, if that makes sense. You have to call immediately. So you need to make sure that either you schedule it separately in Outlook and everyone's expecting it, or you just want to or something's urgently going on, let's just call everyone that can make it right now and click call, and everyone will get that call. So nothing's perfect yet. I would say if Microsoft could just fix adding distribution lists to channels, or even just inviting the entire team would be handy, then all the benefits of being able to have your meeting in the team and save all your assets into the team is really, really useful. Until that time, what we do is schedule calls in Outlook. It goes into the meeting chat, and if we've saved a video into that call chat, then we would then go into stream, change the permissions so that the entire team can see it. If they might not have added the entire team, or if there's more people coming into the team later on, you don't want to, if they're not invited to the original meeting, they might not have access to that video. So go into stream, change the permissions to the entire team, and then do a news post to make sure that it comes back into the team so everyone can see it. Okay, if you don't know what to talk about news posts, we've got a video on that which I'll link in the comments below as well. Okay, so the last way of doing a conference call or a meeting is a live event. So live events remove some of the restrictions from the number of people that you can have in a meeting. I think it's, from memory, 2,000 if not 200. Can't remember which one it is. In a normal meeting, I think it's 10,000 for a live event. So this is if your CEO is doing a broadcast online town hall meeting to the entire company, you would probably want to use a live event because it's one way by default. Teams meetings with a large number of people is pretty good already, in that it If you're joining, there's some people there already. It says, do you want to go on mute by default? Because this meeting's already started, which is great and really handy, because I'm sure everyone's been on conference calls where you have to announce your own name. If you're coming in late, and people don't want to do it. So it's like beep, 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 beep. So-and-so's joined the meeting. So-and-so's left the meeting. And it's just absolutely atrocious for productivity. So Teams is already pretty good in that it turns your mic off for you if there's already people joining. But if a live event completely stops that, so it's only a broadcast out, no one else can speak into that live event. There's a Q&A at the side, which is great because people can ask questions there, but it's not badged up as chat, it's badged up as asking a question, because again, it's sort of one-way presentation. So there's a reason why you might want to use live events rather than meetings. If we just have a look briefly at what a live event does. So if we come into the calendar and by default you've got new meeting at the top, if your admin has turned it on for you, you then have new live event option, and you get some different fields to fill in. So you still get a title, so we can do test live event. You can still book a meeting room from it if you wanted to. And you can still pick a start and end date and some details. The differences are this isn't going to send an invite out for you to all of the people you want to watch your live event. So you can put some details in about the live event there, but you need to select who's going to produce the live event and who's going to present it. And it is always good to have at least two people. You don't want to do both roles at the same time, really, especially if you're sharing your screen. So you could do it if you're just talking to the camera, but I'll show you why in a second, because if you're presenting your screen, then people are going to see the inner workings of the producer role, as well as you presenting your screen. So if we click next, you can say whether you want it org-wide, and people still have to sign in. Looks like we've got public once turned off, so we can't have any external people in it. So we're just going to do it to people and groups. And again, it doesn't know what group you're in, so we're going to do it in our test team, so no one else has got permission to see that event outside of that. And then there's more details online, obviously, as always, but if you've got a really high production value, you can use an external sound and vision board and loads of other technical video production stuff that I'm sure people know more about than me. Or you can use Teams to produce it. So this is just saying how you're going to produce your event. So you can use the external app or device, and that's for like more professional AV people. But then this is just some options about if you're doing it in Teams. So you can say recordings available to producers and presenters. So again, it's going to record the video automatically for you. And you can get that video afterwards. It's got captions, which is still in preview, but if people want to put something into, if they're hard of hearing or whatever, you can at the moment do US English, German and Chinese, so that it can understand if you're presenting it, but then it can translate it into up to 6 languages that you pick. And those are going to be live captions, which is really powerful. You can get a report at the end, which is saying how engaged your attendees were, and Q&A is this chat thing at the side, which I think is really handy so you want to tick that probably. So if we click schedule, then it's going to schedule it in the calendars of the presenters that you selected and the producers, but it's to get it out to everybody else, you need to just get this link. So it's saying to invite your attendees. Basically, you need to send out another meeting invite to make sure they're going to attend. So you click get attendee link and then just paste it into a normal Outlook meeting invite and send it out to whoever you want to join that meeting. So we're just going to click join live event. And join now. And we're joining as a producer because that's the role that we selected. And you can see it looks quite different from the meeting. So this is on the left hand side what you're going to queue up to then put into the live stream. and what's on the right hand side is what everyone else on the call is going to see. So at the moment, if they join the call, they're going to see live event hasn't started. Just to give you some prompts, so say turn your video on if you plan to speak in a live event, which we can turn on, and you get all of your things that you can put into the live event down the bottom here. So we can also share, I don't know, calendar, say, and then this would be sharing content from my desktop. We can share, if we had another producer, another presenter, or a series of presenters on the call, they could all line up what they're going to share down the bottom. And as producer, I'm selecting what I want to see and then push to live. So this is what's going to come up next. So I can queue up, well, actually, I want to share my desktop next, and then queue that up and then send it live. This is the reason, though, that you probably don't want to produce and share stuff yourself if you're sharing your screen, because if you did share your entire screen, then everybody can see all of this at the same time. You're trying to switch between yourself and the content. If you did have another person presenting, then you could add content and you can have a little video by the side of the content. So you can see this is where the content would be, which is someone else's screen, and then this video would be someone else's video. So you can sort of get a bit cleverer with how it looks rather than just a normal meeting, which I guess would have their video somewhere down the bottom. And then if you have multiple speakers, you can queue them up to speak next and then switch send live, and that'll send it live. So all of this stuff is before the meeting's even started. So we haven't actually started the live event yet. We're still in pre-live. If we click start, then that's going to start broadcasting to everyone that's on the call, and it'll start recording by default. Q&A I just wanted to look at. So as a publisher and a presenter, you can make an announcement, which again just looks like a chat. You can see some questions coming in, and again, at the time that someone submits them, they're not visible to everyone else. You've got a moderation, so you can see what's coming in new, and if someone asks a question, you then have to say, yeah, that's okay to be published, and then at that point everyone else on the call can see it, and they can like which sort of upvotes it for you, because you can sort the published ones by most liked, and they can see which is the question that people most want to be asked. You can also dismiss questions if they're just spam or ones that have already been asked and answered. So you can, if you're a attendee of the meeting, you can publish a question as anonymous, and you have to type your name in rather than using your O365 account to say who's coming in asking that question. So beware of that you could get some stuff that's a bit more pointed if people are anonymous rather than putting their name to it. But I think it's a good thing to people more open and asking questions if that is the case. Chat meeting notes you can still take, but again, I'm not sure where they're going to go, and probably not that useful because they're not going to be visible to the attendees. Chat you can have which just goes to the other presenters and the other publishers, but obviously be mindful that's going to probably pop up on their screen if they're sharing the screen, so it's probably something you just want to do in pre. And again, people you can bring in the presenter if they're supposed to dial in at a certain time and think, oh god, it's about to start. Now you can just call them from that area. And then the health bit is that it's live event is live in that it's pretty live, but I think there's going to be about 20 second delay between you speaking and a participant hearing it. Because it's only one way, that allows extra bandwidth to be used and better resolution and fidelity. And if you've ever tried to share your music and video from PowerPoint on a normal meeting, you know that the sound's quite reduced, which you don't notice when you're speaking. It sounds pretty clear, but you can really tell with music. If you do a live event, it should be a bit more professional in that you can show these sorts of videos in your live event, and it's a bit more professional and higher fidelity. So this health and performance thing just gives you some technical stuff about how long stuff's taking to go around everyone that's seeing it, what device is being used, what policy is, how much bandwidth is being used, etc. Loads of techie stuff that you probably don't want, all the presenters don't need to know. If you're into techie stuff and you're in IT or being the producer, then that is stuff you might want to see. But just note that if you are using live events, there is a bit of a delay before someone sees it. So if you ask for questions, you probably need to leave at least 20 seconds before someone even sees you saying, are there any questions? So you might ask some questions, then have some content to go and speak about whilst they're asking questions, and then come back to see if there are any that haven't been answered yet. So the downsides of live events are that all those assets probably not visible to your participants. You probably need to save them down somewhere and send them out separately. It's not really useful if you just want to present your screen yourself. It is a bit more hassle to set something up in that you need someone else to produce this video for you. If you're the one presenting, or if you're the producer, you need someone else to present. As you can see, it's quite difficult to present and produce yourself, especially if you're sharing your screen, because everyone's going to see that's going on. If you just want to speak to the camera, then yeah, you can produce it yourself pretty easily, because you just select your own camera, one box, and send that live like we are now, and just talk into your laptop, and everyone else would hear you. So you can do that fine. If you want to do something a bit more professional, obviously you can use the AV plugin thing, which you might need an external support for if you don't have it internally. But hopefully that helps, guys. If you've got anything else you want to know about meetings, conference calls, etc., let us know in the comments below. If you like the video, remember to click like and to click subscribe and hit the bell icon if you haven't already. And then obviously Teams has got a wealth of tools for making meetings and conference calls way better than they have done in the past. But meantime, we still think there's a big opportunity for large companies to make their meetings better through the use of a meeting timer. We've got an app on the iOS App Store that's called MeTime, and we'd love it if you checked it out. If you want to know more details, visit www.metimeapps.com, or let us know any questions you've got in the comments below. So thanks for watching so far, and we'll see you next week.